Okay, imagine this. A really sleepy little town, the kind where nothing much seems to happen. Nyamati, it's called, in Karnataka's Davangere district.
Right. Sounds peaceful.
Totally. Until everyone wakes up one morning to find the local State Bank of India branch. Well, basically cleaned out.
Cleaned out how?
We're talking 17.7 kilograms of gold. Gone. Vanished.
Oh, 17.7 kilos.
Yeah.
That's huge. What's that worth?
Around 13 crore rupees. Just gone.
13th row. Okay, my interest is definitely peaked.
And here's the kicker, the part that just makes you go, no way. The alleged mastermind.
Yeah, some hardened criminal, international jewel thief.
Not quite. The local baker, a guy who apparently dropped out of school after class 8.
The baker? You're kidding me? A class 8 dropout orchestrating a 13 crore gold heist.
That's the story we're diving into today. It almost sounds like fiction, but the details we've gathered suggest it's very real.
Okay, I need to hear this. The sheer audacity is incredible. A baker.
Right, so picture the scene. October 28th, 2024, Monday morning. Bank staff arrive, probably expecting a normal start to the week.
And instead,
They find chaos. The strong room locker sliced open, gold missing. It happened over the weekend, October 26th, when the bank was closed.
so they had plenty of time, potentially. How did they even get in?
Seems they cut through a window grill at the back. Pretty standard entry method, maybe. But then they also disabled the CCTV.
Okay, so some planning involved. They knew about the camera.
That took the digital video recorder with them. Smart move. But then there's this other detail.
Go on.
Chili powder. Sprinkled everywhere inside.
Chili powder? Seriously? Why to throw off sniffer dogs?
That's the assumption, maybe. Or perhaps something they picked up from a movie. It has this weird, almost amateurish layer to it, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
Like, sophisticated enough to disable CCTV and cut open a vault, but then chili powder? A strange mix.
So let's talk about the baker, the supposed mastermind. His name's Vijaykumar, 30 years old. Originally from Madurai in Tamil Nadu, but he was running the VIP bakery right there in Nyamati.
VIP bakery. So he was known in town, a local business owner.
Exactly. Baking cakes one minute, planning a massive gold heist the next. It's quite the contrast.
It really is. What would push a baker down that path? Any idea about his motivations?
Well, the information suggests a few things were going on. Back in August 2023, he'd applied for a loan, 15 lakh rupees.
Okay, decent amount. For the bakery.
Presumably. But the bank turned him down. Rejected.
That can sting, especially for a small business owner.
Yeah, and apparently he felt a bit like an outsider in Nyamati, even running his business there. Plus, there were mentions of his parents' medical bills causing financial strain.
So a potential mix of resentment, feeling cornered financially, maybe seeing this as a way out. A very drastic way out.
Seems like it might have been a tipping point, that loan rejection, the bills. Maybe it just festered.
And he didn't do this alone, surely. A 13 crore heist sounds like a team effort.
No, he had help. A small crew, actually. His brother, Vijaykumar, who's 28.
Okay, keeping it in the family.
And his brother-in-law, Paramananda, 30. Plus, 3 local guys from Nyamati itself, Abhisheka, Chandru, both 23, and Manjunath, who is 32.
Locals involved too. Interesting. Did any of them have, a history? Criminal records?
That's another bizarre part. According to the reports, none of them. 0 prior criminal records for any of them.
Wow. So a baker leads a crew of first-time offenders on a major bank robbery. This gets stranger and stranger.
It suggests Vijay Kumar must have been pretty persuasive, right? To pull together this group of clean slates for something so high risk.
Absolutely. He must have had quite some influence over them. Loyalty, maybe desperation on their part too, or just the sheer thrill of it.
Could be a mix. Now here's where the pop culture element comes in, and it's something.
Oh, don't tell me he got the idea from a movie.
Kind of. Apparently Vijay Kumar was a massive fan of the show Money Heist.
The Spanish series.
Really? Yep. Watched it 5 or 6 times, they say. Not just watching, almost studying it, like it was research material.
Okay, that's wow. Taking notes from Netflix for a real-life heist.
And it wasn't just Money Heist. He also reportedly looked into a Tamil movie called Thiran Adkigaram Andru.
Thiran. I know that one.
Ah,
It's about cops chasing dacoits. Very gritty.
right. And on top of that, he apparently spent time on YouTube searching for tutorials on, well, how to rob a bank.
You can find tutorials for that on YouTube. Good grief.
It seems you can find information on almost anything online these days. It shows how someone, even without much formal education, can gather intel from, TV, movies, the internet.
And piece together a plan. A dangerously effective plan, it seems. It really lowers the barrier to entry for,
Mhm.
well, for planning crimes, unfortunately.
And he was thorough, didn't just watch TV and jump in. He spent about 6 months casing the SBI branch.
6 months of reconnaissance. Okay, so he was patient. What did he find?
He noticed the security seemed kind of lax. The strong room was apparently very close to the main counter, not tucked away securely.
Vulnerabilities.
Exactly. And the grill protecting it, secured with just one lock. He even checked the local police beat book.
The beat book. Why?
To figure out the constable's patrol schedule, he wanted to know when the coast would likely be clear.
Okay, that's meticulous. Checking patrol routes. That's next-level planning for a novice.
Twistedly impressive in a way. The dedication.
It shows a real focus on understanding the environment and exploiting its weaknesses.
Mm.
He wasn't just relying on brute force.
They even practiced. The whole gang out in deserted fields at night, timing their moves, figuring out how long things would take.
Rehearsals, like a theater troupe, but for robbery.
Pretty much. And communication strictly old school.
Yeah.
No mobile phones during the planning or the heist itself. Too easy to track.
Smart, avoiding the digital footprint. Classic counter-surveillance.
They bought all their gear gloves, gas cutters, oxygen cylinders, and yes, the chili powder from various local shops trying not to raise suspicion.
Spreading the purchases out.
Blending in. They even held planning meetings. Get this. At a school building sometimes.
At a school. The irony. Okay, this guy was committed.
Then came the night, October 26th, 2024. A Saturday. Banks closed.
Showtime.
They walked to the bank, apparently, on foot, carrying all the equipment to avoid leaving vehicle tracks nearby.
Okay. Stealthy approach.
Vijaykumar had even ground the serial numbers off the oxygen cylinders they were using for the gas cutter.
Taking precautions. Trying to make the tools untraceable. Basic, but necessary.
They got inside by prying open that back window grill he'd identified, just like in the movies, maybe.
Probably felt like it to them at that moment.
Inside, Vijaykumar and his brother Ajay Kumar handled the main job, cutting, accessing the strong room. The others acted as lookouts.
Division of labor. Makes sense.
He went straight for the manager's office, cut the landline phone wires, disconnected communication.
Smart. Prevent any silent alarms or calls out.
Apparently, disconnecting something made a small beep sound outside, but neighbors just thought it was like an ambulance siren or something distant.
Wow, a lucky break.
Yeah,
That could have ended things right there.
definitely a bit of luck involved. Then, the gas cutters came out again, sliced through the strong room grill.
And into the vault.
Well, into the strong room. There were 3 lockers inside, apparently, but they only managed to open one.
Only one. Why? Run out of time. Or gas for the cutter.
Not entirely clear. Maybe the one locker had enough, because what they got from that one locker was the 17.7 kilos of gold.
So one locker held nearly 18 kilos. Must have been packed. What kind of gold was it? Bullion.
Mostly jewelry, it seems. Stuff pledged by customers. Chains, bangles, earrings, and importantly, lots of phallus and Mangal-sutras.
Ah, the marriage necklaces. That's deeply personal stuff. That's not just abstract wealth. That's people's lives, their security, their sentimental value tied up right there.
Exactly. Over 500 customers had their pledged gold in there. Life savings, heirlooms for many.
That really hits differently than robbing, say, cash reserves. The human impact is much more direct.
For sure. So they grabbed the gold, they grabbed the CCTV recorder, sprinkle that chili powder liberally,
Can't forget the chili powder.
and they vanish. Walked about 3 kilometers back to Vijay Kumar's place, carrying the loot. No calls, no toll roads used on the way out.
Maintaining that low profile. Where did they stash it initially?
In the trunk of his car, apparently. Right there near his home and bakery.
Risky. But I guess they needed a temporary spot.
And sources we looked at described their initial getaway as, quote, scarily good for a bunch of first-timers. They left almost no immediate trace.
Their planning paid off in that initial phase, definitely. They executed the entry and exit cleanly. But what happened next? Surely hiding 18 kilos of gold isn't easy.
This is where it gets interesting again. Vijay Kumar didn't flee. He stayed in Nyamati, kept running the bakery. Business as usual.
Bold move, hiding in plain sight.
Pretty much. But he didn't just bury the gold in the backyard. He took a trip back towards his roots in Tamil Nadu to a place called Usalampati.
Okay, what did he do there?
He found what he thought was the perfect hiding spot, a 30-foot deep irrigation well on a family farm.
Oh, wow. Seriously.
Yep. Wrapped the gold up, put it inside some kind of container or locker, and lowered it down into the water. Figured nobody would ever find it there.
That's actually quite ingenious. Remote, secure, hidden by water. You wouldn't just stumble upon it.
Seemed like a brilliant long-term solution. Except,
There's always an except.
over the next few months, it seems the temptation was too strong. Vijaykumar started making trips back to the well.
Uh-oh. To check on it.
To retrieve bits of it, small amounts, he'd pull some out, then pledge it at different places under relatives' names or sell pieces to various jewelers.
Okay, that's where the risk comes back in. Every transaction is a potential trail.
Exactly. He also gave his accomplices their shares, apparently quite small portions compared to the total haul, and he started buying some property for himself.
So he's spending the proceeds. Did the rest of the gang know where the main stash was?
No, that was his secret. Only Vijaykumar knew about the well. He held all the cards, essentially.
Keeping the location secret gives him power, but also isolates him if things go wrong. And unequal shares. They can breed resentment later.
Meanwhile, for 5 months, the police in Karnataka were stumped, utterly baffled.
I can imagine. No fingerprints, CCTV gone, no phone data linking anyone obvious, no toll records.
All they had was the method, the cutting, the entry, and that lingering smell of chili powder.
Right. What did they suspect initially?
Their first thought, based on the MO, was a known gang from Uttar Pradesh, the crore gang. They were known for similar highway robberies and even bank jobs involving gas cutters.
Okay, that makes sense. Similar methods point towards known offenders.
They actually arrested 5 members of that gang thinking they'd cracked it, but the crore gang had a specific way of operating, and one thing they never used, let me guess, chili powder.
Bingo. That detail, the chili powder, didn't fit their profile at all. That discrepancy made the police think again.
Wow. So the weirdest clue actually helped clear the initial suspects. That's fascinating.
It really is. It forced the investigators, led by SP Yuma Prashanth and ASP Sambar Gaze, to step back and reevaluate everything. A crucial bit of negative evidence, you could say.
So back to square one, essentially.
Pretty much. They widened the net, went back to basics, but broader. Started meticulously analyzing mobile tower data dumps for a huge area around Nyamati around the time of the heist. Combing through toll records again, looking for any faint connection.
Casting a much wider net, hoping to catch something small.
Exactly. And eventually, painstaking work paid off. They found faint but definite technical clues. Data points that linked certain individuals present in Nyamati around the heist time with connections back to Tamil Nadu.
Ah, the Tamil Nadu connection, Vijaykumar's home state.
Precisely. That was the breakthrough. It wasn't obvious, but the data analysis pointed them in a new direction, towards this baker and his network.
So they finally had a solid lead.
Yes, and they followed it. In March 2025, 5 months after the robbery, they moved in.
And arrested her.
Arrested Vijaykumar and the whole crew, all 6 of them.
And did he confess? Lead them to the gold?
He did. Once caught, he apparently admitted everything and took the police straight to that well in Usalampati.
Wow. Must have been quite a scene, pulling gold out of a well.
I imagine so. They recovered 15 kilograms right there, still wrapped up at the bottom.
15 kilos, so most of it was still there. What about the rest, the 2.7 kilos?
That took more work, tracing the transactions he'd made. They eventually tracked it down to the various places he'd pledged or sold it, recovered almost everything in the end.
That's incredible police work, really, to go from nothing to a full recovery 5 months later.
Absolutely. Even the Inspector General of Police, Ravi Kantagata, publicly commented on it. He expressed amazement at Vijaykumar's planning, called him incredibly clever, especially for someone with no criminal background.
High praise, in a strange way. Clever, but ultimately caught.
Which often happens. The execution might be clever, but the follow-through, covering tracks long-term, that's often where things unravel, especially when you start spending the loot.
And, thinking about the recovery, especially those thalas and Mangal sutras.
Yeah.
For the community in Nyamati, getting that specific gold back must have meant so much more than just the monetary value.
Oh, absolutely. For those women, those families, having those deeply personal, culturally significant items returned.
Right.
That's huge. It's restoring a piece of their lives, their heritage, their security. A huge sense of relief and justice, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it really underscores the human cost, like you said earlier. It wasn't just the bank that was robbed.
Exactly. Hundreds of individuals were directly impacted.
So when you step back from it all, what do you make of this story? A Class 8 dropout, inspired by Money Heist and YouTube, almost pulls off a perfect, massive gold heist.
Well, it's a wild ride, isn't it? It speaks volumes about, I suppose, ingenuity found in unexpected places, and maybe desperation, too.
Right. That line between being clever and being criminal, driven by circumstances, perhaps.
And it also makes you think about vulnerability. How systems we rely on, like bank security, can sometimes be circumvented by someone observant and determined, even without sophisticated resources.
Yeah, someone who just paid attention, noticed the weak spots, used readily available information in a new way.
It's a reminder that threats don't always come from the usual suspects or require high-tech methods. Sometimes it's just careful observation and audacious planning.
It definitely leaves you thinking, doesn't it? About how thin the line can be sometimes, and maybe about the security of things we just take for granted every day. What other weak spots are just sitting there?
That's the unsettling question, isn't it? What vulnerabilities are hiding in plain sight?